Hi, friend. I'm Leah Simon. I'm the founder of the Box Co. and the creator of the Comeback Box. And one of the reasons that I built the box was many people find personal development books and programs and seminars overwhelming, and I wanted to break it down into simple steps. And I've met so many amazing people along my journey that I'm bringing on someone every week to unbox their expertise for you. And Donovan Dreyer has created this really amazing system to help us all identify our stress level and where we're at. And it gives us a common language to communicate it with others. And he has been an elementary and high school counselor. And so this program was actually developed for children and teens, and he's been using it for years. He's also developed a teen Takeoff program that he's going to share with us. So today we're going to be chatting with him. He's going to be sharing this really simple, innovative system that he's created. And Donovan is here. Hi, Donovan. Let me bring you on up. Just waiting. Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for coming and chatting today. I really
Sure.
love, everything that you've created, and I'm so excited to talk to you more about it.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited too. Thanks so much for inviting me, Leah.
Yeah, of course. Um, I think a great place to begin, you've shared some of this with me, but just um, your background and what really prompted you to create the SOS system.
Yeah, I mean, I have a kind of a long story getting to what I wanted to do when I grew up, but once I did, it was basically in response to the Columbine shooting that prompted me to be a school counselor to get myself into the trenches with the teenagers. And then one year, we had three suicides in a 2 week span at one of the schools I was at. And one of the moms said, we just had this presentation that says you can turn in this little card if you're contemplating suicide, but I wanted an earlier warning
Wow.
sign. I would have not want to know at the last second if my son was thinking about that. Is there any way to build an early detection system? And so that's like that. I was like, I have no idea. But I actually needed it myself as a counselor because everybody was triggered. All the students were triggered like none other that year. So it was like the most intense year ever for kids being in tough mental health space. So they were coming into my office and I was like basically having to triage something that I could not see. So the inner world is very nebulous, and trying to
Right.
identify a person's mental health is tricky. Some kids were super affected by those deaths, and other kids, it just wasn't as impactful. But, I had to figure out fast who was coming into my office and what state they were in. And so I just devised a way to do that slowly but surely. I started trying like the 1 through 10 system, and that totally failed me. But ultimately, I created something that works a lot like the traffic light, actually, plus the stock market combined. So Seth Godin kind of gave this idea that you need to pull from all kinds of areas in your life to solve tricky problems. And so when I combined those two things to figure out a mental health solution, I was able to at least triage kids for myself as a school counselor. But then from there, I started educating the students on how to actually make mindfulness ridiculously easy and ridiculously straightforward and simple.
Amazing. And this is the SOS system.
It is, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And I know that it's very visual, so I don't know you have it. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, do you want to walk us through it quickly?
Yeah. Let me see. Let me get one of these cleaned off here. I just had actually an IG live yesterday, so it's kind of got writing all over it. So let me clear it off. So basically what I've got is a laminated version of my chart that I actually use with the kids
Okay.
each of these years. And so it's really cool to be able to actually see inside of their inner world, and then to be able to identify their mental health state. So Give me a moment. There's a bunch of stuff on
Sure.
here. All right. So I guess we'll start with this part of it.
Okay.
So as I show this, we've got just the traffic light. I mean, I'll zoom in on that. So you got this traffic light in the center.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just one emoji each. Most reviews now use this, so I don't know if they picked it up from me or they came up with the same idea themselves. But the review, besides just thumbs up and thumbs down, you get one more thing. You just get, with the smiley faces, frowny faces, and meh face, you get one more for review purposes. But I'll also explain how this works with this side of the chart as well. So what we're looking at here is where I have kids create their pattern. And so there's basically just 3 time frames. So if I ask you how you're doing today, Leah, you are actually in the green, yellow, or red right now, and so am I. And every person on the planet's actually in one of these 3 levels. So if I'm trying to explain this to you when I'm trying to get a really better idea of how you're doing, the green level basically means that you are able to handle it yourself. So a little green smiley face, it means you're below that yellow line literally because it's self-help. You can regulate your own emotions. You can work this out yourself. You can take some deep breaths. You don't even need a dog for some of that stuff. I mean, some kids actually like it's music, so they need at least an iPhone or some kind of phone, or they need a pet if they like to go to their pet. They don't need a person yet. But once we cross above that yellow line, now we need another person. And it's either because we need somebody else to lean on, like you are the company that you keep, or you're the 5 people you surround yourself with. Well, at the high school, you could surround yourself with people that push you up higher and make your stress worse. Or you could, find somebody that's going to help you out. Or it just might be a conflict, and it takes 2 to tango. So the yellow level is either 2 people in conflict, like at the elementary level, somebody might say like, Mr. Dreyer, can you come over to Foursquare and help us work this out? And I'll say, no, I taught you a work it out solution for the yellow level. So go try that first.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll first stand there like, wait, any other adult is just going to jump to the rescue, go after Tommy and say, what did you do to Susie? And so, instead of that, I'm just like, you learn the system in our character ed classes I've taught you. So just go back and try to work it out. If it escalates and we start to get physical and things get crazy, then I got to dive in. But really, that's the yellow level. And then finally, the red level, it means we're at a place where it's an emergency.
Right.
So now we need to go to the school counselor for sure, or we need to go to a teacher, or we need to go an adult if we're an elementary school kid. I had one kid that was texting another student, and he was skipping class. And so I saw him and asked him what he was doing. He said, I'm texting a friend. He's at another school. I'm worried about him. He's been suicidal this week. And I'm like, time out. This is red level. This is not your job. We've taught you that you're not a mental health professional, so you can't help at the level that they need emergency level help. So we need to call this school and get that kid help immediately.
Right.
So it really just simplifies. You're either going to help yourself, you're going to get help from an everyday person, or you're going to get professional help. So just like we're at the intersections when we're driving, go, stop, or slow down. This one is help yourself, help each other out through a middle level program or a problem. And then the extreme problems, it's an emergency. So get that emergency level help.
Yeah, I think it is so magical and I'm sure helpful for children. It's so simple. Everyone understands the traffic light all the way through teenagers. And I also think that it's a helpful device for adults. Um, I mean, I don't know. I know a lot of what you do is creating this common language, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're creating a common language between the adult and the child to quickly get to where are you in your inner state and your stress level. But I feel like even as adults thinking about where am I? Am I green, yellow, or red?
Yeah.
Could be helpful. I don't know. What is the feedback when you share this with adults? What's their reaction?
Well, I mean, a lot of people have had great reactions. I've got a school counselor group of like 900 that have been following over the past several years to get into a Facebook group. So it's a pretty simple system, but it surprises me that some people kind of feel intimidated trying anything new. But really, I mean, if you think about mental health and mindfulness and self-awareness and meditation and mental health, and like all of these things are so nebulous. It's such a mystery, and so a lot of people there's also a stigma around getting help. Um, and
Yeah.
so, yeah, all the way down to the elementary school level, this is a great place to start. But since I've been working at the elementary school level for a few years, and I worked for years before that in the high school level, that I believe there's elementary school kids that have a higher emotional intelligence than a lot
Mhm.
of adults who are actually learning. You have a work it out strategy. It's basically, don't tug on my shirt. Go back there, call a timeout in the game, and then it's like a taco about it. So we're gonna call T for taco about it, and then I'm gonna talk and tell you what the problem is. Then I'm gonna listen, and you're gonna tell me, what your response is. And then I used to have them invent an idea to work it out, but I was just like, just take a break. Just like, let's just
Okay.
call it, I'm going to prescribe take a break. So the
Okay.
middle level is talk about it and then take a break. And then the lowest level, the first thing I give elementary school kids is, call a timeout and just take a breath. So we got a breath for the green, we got a break for the yellow, and now, we can get crazy after that and like deal with all the emotions and labeling them and all the different emojis that are out there. But really, it's important for adults even to get that idea of, wow, my when you go up this scale too,
Yeah.
got a line going up on the scale. If we're going up and up and up over time, over the course of 3 days, like this, as we're adults, we are losing some of our capacity too. So as our emotions rise, as our stress rises,
Right.
our mental capacities to be rational and thoughtful and considerate and graceful, they go down.
Right.
And so our brain functions start to get more and more and more toward lizard brain. And once we're in the red, that's all we got. So in the red, I've used some songs too, like Just Keep Swimming in the green, or We Can Work, what's the other one? Just Keep Swimming, or Let It Go. They love when I sing. I think they love it. Like when I start singing Let It Go, they run away
Yeah.
really fast and scream. I think that means they like it, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Of course. And
And then
when you
the yellow
talk,
level is We Can Work It Out, or Get
yeah.
By With a Little Help from Your Friend, a couple Beatles
Okay.
songs. And then finally Help is a good Beatles song for the red, because it's just one word
Oh, I love
that goes
that.
with the red. So I use songs to help kids figure that out too, and it really just makes it super easy when it used to be this whole nebulous, crazy realm that was totally a mystery. So it's completely demystified now. It works for everybody of all levels. I mean, we wouldn't start driving in the car at 16 and then switch to something else besides a traffic light at the intersections when we're 30, 40, 50, or 60. Everybody's going through every intersection in every state with the exact same system. And that's what makes everybody safe. I trust that you're going to stop because your side's red. I get to
Right.
go because my side's green. We're all good. So that's the power of a universal language. I believe this is a serious breakthrough for mental health.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think it's amazing. I love that it creates common language. Um, and I'm just wondering, when you first introduce it, are you, I mean, it's hard to communicate, I would think, to a child, what is your inner state? That's sort of like a complex concept. So are you using the word stress, or how are you asking them where they are on the scale, or what are you presenting that the traffic light
I just
symbolizes?
Now they just start plotting it on my chart. And then if they put something in the red, I'm like, okay, just as a reminder, this is like an emergency. And they're like, yeah, I mean, I could have a fifth grader that I'm going to do a mental health suicide evaluation on. So it could be legit. And then I'll ask them, well, how long? So at the top here, it's just like today, yesterday, and the day before.
Uh-huh.
And we go backwards too. We go like kind of in a manga for anime, where we're going from, uh, instead of going from left to right, we're going from right to left, because the now moment is this one. This is yesterday, and this is the day before. So
Right.
I actually how they're doing right now, and then we go backwards. And so there's a kid that 3 months running was yellow, red, yellow, and weaving
Uh-huh.
between yellow and red. And then I just confirmed with a little bit more conversation that, yeah, that's where this kid was, and it was time for a mental health evaluation. So
Total, but at the
it gives.
very beginning, when you present the traffic light, are you asked, what is the phrase that you're using with them? Are you saying, what is your mental state? Are you saying, what is your
No,
stress
no.
level?
Thing with elementary school kids, it's really fun. I've done this with high school kids too. We just go play red light, green light. And so I give them no instructions. I'm like, how many of you played red light, green light? Like 80, 90, 95, 99% of the kids have played red light, green light. So they're way over there. And I just go green light and they start running. And then I go red light. And then we finish that. We maybe do that a couple times, come back in the room. I was like, okay, some of you didn't know that game. So how did you start participating? And they're like, oh, I just watched the other kids and it was pretty easy to figure out. And then the other kids, it's like, well, why do you go on green? Why do you stop on red? And they're like, oh, it's like the traffic light. And that's right. And I was like, okay, same thing. You just get to keep going when you're in the green. If a parent's coming to help you out and it's an easy problem, they shouldn't probably come in and help you out for an easy problem. Just take a deep breath. So if
Okay.
it's really easy and you can do it yourself by just kind of calming yourself down and taking a deep breath, then you're in the green. Your stress is not that bad. And then if you're in the yellow, what this means is you can't handle it on your own anymore. A deep breath's not going to help.
Right.
Petting your dog is not going to help. So
So
then
you're
you actually,
so you're
mom or dad,
talking so you're
brother.
talking to them about it in terms of their stress. You're
Yeah,
saying even to an
trying to help them.
elementary school. Sorry?
Yeah, just trying to help them figure out what each of those levels mean, because when you cross those lines, they're very specific.
Right.
So I, tell them like, well, if you couldn't work it out by just like taking a deep breath and you couldn't calm yourself down, petting your dog didn't work, reading didn't work, listening to music didn't work,
Yeah.
you're probably in the yellow. Okay, you need to go to somebody. You don't need to come to the counselor yet. You don't need to go to your teacher yet. You
Yeah.
might be able to go to one of your friends, and this is what friendship is for. We want to turn to somebody who we can lean on, and maybe they're going to lean on us tomorrow. These are the people
Yeah.
that you can lean on, or help work through a conflict or something that's bothering you. Now if you two can't work it out and you go to somebody else and it's still not getting solved, and you are really really super sad or super mad or angry and you can't bring yourself down, it's probably time to go talk to an adult. And so
Got
there's
it.
just three to do. There's not a bazillion choices based on the types of help we get.
Mm-hmm.
Every last man is getting help today. Every last man on the planet is getting mental health help today. And there's a huge stigma around that. But most of them, they only want to rely on themselves and they pretend everything is green. They
Right.
just pretend everything's green. And we refuse to get help. It's definitely, that's a gender thing. And it is definitely something I've seen for 20 years straight, that men still have a big stigma about getting that help.
Yeah, when I created the comeback box, it was for everyone and everybody. And when I first started telling some friends about it, if I was talking to a man, they would say, that's such a wonderful idea for women. And the comeback box is basically personal development distilled into daily experiences, and it's kind of the greatest hits playlist from what I've learned in my professional and personal research. And I just thought it was so interesting that any kind of personal development or self growth, to many men, not everyone, occurs as a female exercise.
Right.
Um, and I'm really hoping that many men now, since launching the company, have purchased the box for themselves. And so I feel like we are moving where that stigma for everyone is being removed. I mean, mental health has been talked about so much this past year. But I think what you're doing is so wonderful because I don't remember learning any of this in school. Like, I was maybe 30 years old before a friend of mine explained to me that there was a difference between thoughts and feelings. And it was only through, I was a strategist for years studying behavior to help brands like Pepsi, Amazon build their creative campaigns. So
Mm-hmm.
through my professional work, and then I was very interested in self growth and development, that's where I learned all of this. But I remember home economics. I remember being taught how to sew a button, but I never remember somebody teaching me about how to manage thoughts and feelings. So I think what you're doing is wonderful,
Um, is there anything else like it? Is this something that a lot of schools are pursuing now?
Well,
Is
there's
there
not
any? Yeah.
sort of it. So there's something called zones of regulation. So they have green, yellow, red, and blue. However, like the thing, and I really feel like there's great complementary things that we can learn, and there's great collabs and collaborations that can work. So I'm not about like competing or comparing in that way.
Huh.
But what I looked at as I looked at the zones of regulation is that the green, yellow, red, and blue, they all kind of fit within my green section. The whole zones of regulation is how a kid can regulate self. And now it could be monitored by somebody's coaching them through it, helping them learning their self-help skills. But to me, that whole thing is fits within my green. So the big difference is I'm talking about like what decision do we need to make right now, like triage,
Right.
like this, like if we're in the emergency room, it's like this person needs to be seen stat. This person can wait in the waiting room. This person can wait
Right.
in the waiting room 5 hours. Sorry
Yeah.
that you're going to be stuck in the waiting room for 5 hours, but they've got a triage like that. So for
Right.
me, as a school counselor and also for a parent, we don't want that kind of surprise, like the mom that helped me create this by, and I don't like, a lot of people say something happens for a reason or everything happens for a reason. I
Yeah.
kind of feel like it depends. I feel like, everybody in the community could just be traumatized or scarred for life with something like this. But to me, it was like, I didn't want those 3 boys to die in vain. And so it was important for me to actually respond to mom, create this tool. And the cool thing is, even if guys won't use it or they don't really understand what's going on there, but they just start telling me, as according to how I actually would assess these 3 levels, I can just have them point at it. So when I was at the National School Counselor Conference, I actually had one person's chart who looked like this, and the other 4 were pretty chillaxed in July, because it was July and we were all in New Orleans. And I just heard some people, chatting that they were like, joking about teenagers just using those 1-word answers or saying, "Oh no." But I was like, I'm going to challenge myself to actually change like one little wrinkle to my presentation. And I'm just going to have 5 people come up and create charts without using a single word. So I was like, how are you doing right now? How are you doing a couple months ago? How are you doing, more into the school year, a ways back? And so everybody was more stressed out in the school year, except one. The one that's chart was going up in stress was obviously the one that, I would triage and speak to first. But I asked the audience, like, okay, what do which one should we talk to about what their, chart says first? And everybody points at that one chart with the rise in stress. And I was like, well, time out. I just want to point out that not one of these people gave you a single word about their mental health, about their emotions, about their feelings or their inner world. And you know exactly which person that you need to see as a counselor right
Yeah.
now.
So
So
powerful.
that was like mic drop moment for sure. And we need this. I mean, we just need this,
Yeah.
especially after the pandemic. The cool thing is I've been pushing on this idea, and now there's pull for it, because of
Right.
all the crazy things that have happened. I think one of the things that happens in crises is that we've got an opportunity. And we've got an opportunity actually where people are way more receptive than ever before to get the help that's needed, or to start to open up to ideas that maybe they were closed down to before. So I really feel like the pandemic and all the craziness that's happened in the recent year, it really opens people up to actually exploring new ideas. And now it's time to push it out there where it's going to be well received. It feels like, anyway, fortunately.
I totally agree. And I think that this system could be helpful for other educators, but also just for parents to start
Mm-hmm.
to, have a conversation with their children. I've read a ton about children and teens. This has been a really hard year. Lack of
Mm-hmm.
socializing, lack of organized sports, it's been a really difficult year for everyone, and unfortunately, it's affected children as well. So, there a way for people to download this PDF?
Actually, on my website, I've got a different PDF that I give away, but certainly if people want to message me, DM me through Instagram, or if they'd like to email me, they can just email me at Donovan at
Okay.
getreadycoaching.com, and I'd be happy to shoot out some materials, kind of the same ones I sent to you. So I sent you that yellow level talk about an idea for the elementary school
Yeah.
kids, right? That
Yeah,
was
and
one
I
of
feel
them.
like also on your Instagram, there's a ton of content that I've
There is.
learned about this. So
Yeah,
I
going
think
back to
that's,
2017, but some of it was
wow.
super instructional, like they're little mini tutorials or little micro courses. They're not quite a mini course, but they're like micro courses on understanding each of the levels. I've done that are some of like, what is it? Explain everything little videos. So yeah, there's some things that going back to 2017. I know we don't typically scroll through Instagrams like that, but there's some really good stuff on there that helps really demystify and easily explain to kids. I've got some YouTube videos as well. So YouTube,
Mhm.
Instagram, those are probably a couple of the big places where there's already some material. But if somebody wants like a nice clean PDF or JPEG or PNG, I can certainly email that to them.
Oh, thanks so much. And I
Yeah.
also wanted to chat with you about the Teen Takeoff program that you've
Okay.
developed. So
Awesome.
that program is for seniors, or who is it? Who is it for?
Yeah, I mean, I think the kids I've worked with, it's like 10th grade is the perfect year because I know I am super familiar with the 4-year cycle of high school after 17 years of high school counseling. So
Yeah,
strong start 9th grade, super intense year 11th grade, and then transitioning out in 12th grade. So 10th grade is kind of that lost year. So it's I think a really good place to actually dive in a little bit and start to get thinking when there's not much there for the 10th graders. We don't really have much there in general, other than some programs that we get into the classroom as much as possible through either classroom presentations or kids have advisory programs sometimes, but not like every school is a little bit different in terms of how deep they dive into the career prep. So it's ideal, I think, for the 10th grader through senior. And yeah,
and
even
sorry, the
gap
goal
year.
of the program is the goal of the program career preparation?
It is, yeah. So, I mean, my experience is pretty unique. I've been side gigging besides the school counseling for like over 10 years. So, the very first time I worked remotely was in 2008. So that was my first remote work, and the pandemic's kind of opened everybody up to, oh my gosh, there's this whole other world.
Right.
So compared to a lot of school counselors out there having this exposure to the remote world, and I've taken gobs of courses too from some of the greats around doing online business. So I think I'm uniquely qualified to help kids actually explore the remote world opportunities. And then also if they're going to create that next thing that doesn't even exist, so when they've really got these outside the box ideas, I love that piece of it to help support them. And not everybody needs that extra layer of support. If they're being pulled kicking and screaming just to get to graduation, that is not really the ideal student. It's that kid that wants that extra layer of help, or that parent that wants to, like, an outside support. If I had a nickel for every time a parent said, oh man, I say the same thing as you, Mr. Dreyer, but it never sinks in the way you say it. It's like just an outside source is so
Right.
important. I've had experience with thousands of teenagers too, and every parent hopefully doesn't have that many kids. So
Yeah. Okay, so it's about career preparation, and how
mhm.
long is the program?
Yeah, it's like a 6 week or so. I think I'm debating about whether I do it 6 or 7 weeks, but it's pretty short to get
Okay.
through it on a once a week meeting. And I've been talking to a cool guy that does some cool music too to kind of introduce some music. So I've got some ideas
Uh-huh.
cooking because I know it's really important when everybody's super zoomed out to actually figure out a way to make it more exciting and engaging and entertaining. So I've got some ideas around not just educating, but also making it engaging too, because it's a tough crowd, kids. I thought teenagers were hard. It's like those kindergartners, man. Those kindergartners are tough audience. But yeah, kindergarten on through high school, I've kind of figured out how to engage those audiences. So it's a powerful program to get kids set up for life, and whether it's remote work, whether that's regular life work, or a hybrid of the two, but also the lifestyle factors too. So part of what I do is help kids think about the whole picture of their future,
Mhm.
and not just go to college and think it'll all work out. That's kind of like like if we had our phones, that's like jumping on the path without ever telling. I won't say her name because every time I say her name, she pops up on my computer and on my phone. But we've got to ask. She's going to want to know what's our destination, and then she'll take us from the blue dot to our destination with the path. But a lot of kids are just jumping on the path of college without having any idea about their
Mhm.
end destination. So that's really the thing is people do things out of order. We've been doing it for generations and it's been okay. I think things have worked out in the olden days where you just go to college, no matter what you got the bachelor's degree so you can get something out there. But I just think we're going to need to be way more proactive and intentional about that. And that's also kind of like, I got one here with a wavy line. Waving
Uh,
between green and yellow is really ideal. And this is like more of my teenager chart without the traffic light on it. But that wavy line between green and yellow is like, we'll have triggers and we should figure them out, but we should kind of push ourselves into the yellow a little bit, figure out the triggers and go back down. So it's really, my vision for what kids could be like to be in the zone when it comes
right.
to the game of life, so there's actually a visual for that. And so that's in some of my posts as well on
Okay.
IG.
Amazing. Yeah, talking about, you know, the sort of taking steps out of sequence and you kind of preparing someone before they make decisions. I also feel like this could be really beneficial to motivate a high schooler to go to college because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot, it ebbs and flows where everyone has to go to college. Now I feel like we're sort of in a time where people are questioning whether they need to go to college. They see a lot of entrepreneurs starting their own businesses
Mm-hmm.
without a college education. And I think lack of clarity about what they want to do and why college is necessary is a big part of that. So
Yeah.
if you can help them get clarity about what they want to do, I think they can make a much better decision about whether college is something that needs to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's about creating a vision. And then it's like, oh, you can't figure out what you're going to do for 30 years. And I'm like, that's fine. After we get super clear on the first vision, now we can do revision. We don't have to have one vision board for life or one visualization of our future for life. But if we're going to recalculate that, path, then it has to
Yeah.
do with a revision of the vision. So first we make that first vision because hardly anybody does that. And
Yeah.
then after that, always revise. And I definitely think as there's brand new careers existing every single day, that's one of those strengths, is to be able to be super clear on where you're going. If you're going to change your mind, okay, then let's get serious about it and have another big picture vision and get that dialed in again. And then we can recalculate if necessary, or you can be like, I'm on the right path. I'm good to go. I don't need to change my major. I don't need to
Yeah.
not go to college. I want to be a doctor. I can't just like make that one up as an entrepreneurial doctor and see if I
Yeah.
can get some clients and get some practice. Nope, you're going to need a lot of school. And yeah, some things just there's no change. We've got to have the old school type of school because there's certain careers that's it's working. It's already working. We don't need to mess with it.
Amazing. So if someone, this is a remote program anyone can do. If someone's interested in the Teen Takeoff program, what's the best place for them to follow up with you?
Yeah, I would say get on my email list by downloading the Find Your Fit download that's on my website. So that's
Okay.
getreadycoaching.com.
Okay.
And if they're on there, then I'm always going to be sending out emails to the people that are on that list. And then I have got counselors too. And I think as I think about the diversity and the equity and the inclusion, one of the things I'm excited about too is to actually reach out to either school counselors or some kind of method to build in scholarships too. So I can reach like any community,
Oh,
whether that's a country that doesn't have a lot of money, or if it's a city and the kids are in an inner city type of situation. I definitely want to get those kids that are gung-ho about their futures that would not be able to pay for coaching. So yeah, I definitely would like to explore that possibility too. I haven't figured out my scholarship process yet, but that is definitely something I want to do so that it can be wide open to anybody that's just hungry to be, part of the solution by doing what they love, but
yeah.
also, like I'm a service provider, I'm a service person, a people person, and a social innovator and a social entrepreneur. And I want that next group of change makers to be going through. It's probably not going to happen in 6 weeks, but if they stick with me, I think that's my big ultimate goal, is those kids that are hungry to be part of the difference making that we really need in the world. That's exciting. That most excites me. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing all of this. It's really incredible work. And I do think, Gen Z is a generation that's very purpose driven. And I do think it's going to resonate with a lot of them. But thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me today and doing all this work. Everyone, thanks for joining. And if you want to follow up with Donovan, go to his Instagram, go to getreadycoaching.com. Donovan, anything else that you wanted to share today?
Well, the dudes need to get the comeback box and go through it, and everybody can be open to exploring, what they need to, get their self-care going, their self-development going. And yeah, I think guys need to step up their game. I had this one guy that was like, "Hey, Donovan, I know you make posts that you boost for parents. And is it right that like 85 to 90% are women on those kind of posts for parents?" And I was like, yeah. And he's like, even if you're saying dads or fathers right in the title, I was like, yep, that sounds about right. It's still, even if it's pointed right at the dads, you still might have 85% women checking that out. So that's awesome. I think the women are going to be a big, big part of the future too, because they're hungry. They want that leadership. They want to be they're aspiring to be leaders. So it's really awesome to see that kind of thirst and hunger there. But the dudes need to step up too. So start being open and receptive. I think there is a lot more vulnerability of guys getting real, not to just, be dramatic and dump on others, but to just actually tell their story. I think it's super powerful to get real with our kids, to get real with our clients too. It is so powerful to tell our story and say, well, where the heck did this traffic light come from? Where the heck did the comeback box come from? Where do these inspirations come from? And I think guys, if they think about how that might help them in their careers, being real, being vulnerable, not to the point of like going overboard with it just to stir up the drama or to dump on people, but it is so powerful, I think, for people to start to tune into the emotional intelligence. So just be open, be willing to embrace it, especially the guys out there.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, you know, regardless of our gender, also just being open and sharing our story with each other, our own personal story, and letting other people know that they're not alone,
Yeah.
and that them seeking either a conversation with us or their own self-discovery journey is okay. So I think, I'm totally in support of men seeking more self-help or self-care, building their own routine. And I also think women can be supportive of that,
Yep.
because I do think that stigma of being masculine is a part of the reason sometimes men don't want to be vocal about some of their softer feelings.
Yeah. Well, vulnerability is the new courage, and I think that's
Right.
the new muscles is actually
Yes.
willing to go there. So, yeah, Leah, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity here to share with you, and it's always fun
Yeah.
to kind of dig in and feel it. And I wish you the absolute best too with the comeback box and all that you're up to help in the world. So, yeah, I'm
Thank you
super
so much.
part of it today. You bet.
Amazing. And so, everyone, please go, talk to Donovan if you want to continue the conversation. And Donovan, thanks for being here and everything you do. And we'll talk again soon.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. You. Bye bye.